Are we okay to record?
No, Andrew's up there.
Okay, hi Andrew. Oh, is there a button?
No,
No, it's just Andrew, right? Hey Andrew.
maybe we're on. No one here down here, is there? There used to be. I thought there was.
Yeah, there's a committee meeting. Been here, but we have a lot on the agenda. Our time, it looks like we'll be able to get out of here about 6:30, but I think we'll be able to make this all happen. So the first is call to order. The first thing we'd like to do is to actually go through and take a look at the charge that John Kelly just dropped off to us that was actually put through. So everybody want to take a look at that charge. And let's go through that real quick. Now this is not the charge that we voted on, but what we got at the, you guys were all at the selectmen meeting, except for Hank, but I think you probably, maybe you saw the tape. But the selectmen said that what we had talked about and voted on in our meeting was good to go. So, but they just didn't want to have, John explained that he didn't want to have a lot of detail in the charge, and that really wasn't the way to do it. So they basically looked at our charge that we had written and said, yeah, that makes sense. Those are good things to take a look at. So this pretty much covers everything. It's got a date of February 1st, so we'll do our best to hit that spot. We've got to get back to the selectmen on a monthly basis, and that's one of the reasons that I have the agenda written up a certain way so we can keep track of what we can tell the where we are as far as our final report. Is there anything on the charge you guys want to talk about? Any questions that you have?
The timeline, what do you mean? What timeline to do what? To get the report completed or to get the projects completed?
Yeah, the timeline, yeah, I'll talk about it. As the chairman. Okay, thanks. So as the timeline, what we're looking for is a couple different things. One of the things we want to do is actually figure out what our tasks are going to be, and that's where we've got the actual list here for things to go through tonight, is what our task is going to be. And the second part is, when are we actually going to be able to involve on the schema work that we're working with? You know, what are the steps in that schema of making that all happen? So one of the things we've got to take a look at is, as we talked about, is who's going to be working with John Kelly, who are the two people that are going to be working with him on writing the bid, or at least, you know, watching that or seeing that, and then the bid going out and then being selected. Then the other areas we have in the agenda that we've already talked about before, back in our meetings in April, you know, what are those areas? John, did you have anything to add to that as far as?
Just to keep in mind, in terms of the timeline, we started to put together the advertisement, and there's certain steps that have to be followed under Mass General Law. It's a minimum of 6 weeks between the time the advertisement goes out and the final contract is negotiated. So you're going to have a 6-week window where the RFQ is out there on the street, and then the responses are going to come in. Then there's going to be a setup for interviews.
Yeah.
So I know you want to have 2 people sit in on the committee that does the reviews. No issue with that. But Peter, they're setting up full-day interviews for the police station one. And I know if you and Mike are the two, we need to talk about availability.
Yeah.
So, so we'll put together a draft of the RFQ that's going to go out, which will basically identify the scope that was in the town meeting warrant article. That's how the money gets used. But at the earliest, we're not going to be able, the best case scenario, it'll be early August before the architect will be on board.
Okay.
The engineer. So that gives you a month and a half to address some of the other items that the committee wanted to make sure you're, so it kind of works to your favor.
Yeah.
So when you put your timeline together, we'll kind of build it from August through February to see can it get done by the engineer and the architect, and then you'll fill in the committee's other work in between all that. So it should work out fine, but it is the first part of it, it's very time consuming to get the architect and engineer on board. So however you want to work that with me, that's fine, but I would, normally Tom and Ron, and I think, who else did we have for the police station? George.
Oh,
so,
on the PD, I don't know.
Yeah, so, but we'll work with you on that, but if there's only going to be a couple members and the schedules are tight, it's going to be difficult getting the interviews done in a short amount of time.
Sure.
We have to extend it.
So what we can do is.
Who's going to develop the timeline?
You want to? Okay. You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. Let's, the timeline, what we can do is at the end of this meeting, what I recommend that we do is actually talk about the timeline, now that we know what all the tasks are, and figure out how we can put that timeline together, okay? We're responsible for the timeline, right? This is our committee. So So we're going to put the timeline together with insights from the different people that have done this before. Okay, so we have two sets of timelines we have to be concerned about. One is the schema, the things they're going through with the folks that will actually win the bid, right? And the second is actually other items that we want to talk about. So before we get into who's going to write the timeline or who's going to do that, because there's going to be people on the committee that are going to do that, right? We're responsible for it. This is we're a self-perpetuating body, can make that all happen. Why don't we get through some of the things we have to take a look at? So the charge, anybody
Okay,
have
but
questions? Sure. Go ahead.
I just want to understand, I don't want to rush through it, I want to understand what we're doing. So you're saying we are responsible for developing the timeline?
Yes.
Normally, you start with an end date and work back. So
Right.
that's what, we'll have an end date that this thing is required, and then we'll be able to set the steps that are required to get to that end date.
Exactly. That's right. But until we know what we have to put on the timeline, and we can talk about the timeline now, but we don't really know what to put on it right now because we have some things to go through. Because right now what we know is going to be on the timeline is the actual schema, right? And the things that we're going to be working with at stage 1. And then stage 2 is going to be actually the design of the building, right? The electronic design of the building. So those are two major steps, right? One happens, which is the schema work, the site work, those type of works. Then we have the design building. In between that and along with that, right, we've got all these other areas we want to take a look at to make sure we're on schedule. And in the end result is, if we can do our best to get a report by February 1st to the selectmen.
Okay.
So February 1st is the date, but that's not a hard, we're going to try to hit February 1st. But, it's really for the town meeting.
So it's not, it's just a date we're going to try to meet, but not necessarily a firm date.
Nobody's going to die if we don't hit it by February 1st.
I understand that.
Mr. Chairman, just on that note.
Sure.
The Board of Selectmen want to print actual numbers in the warrant on what the estimated design cost will be, square footage. So I think, while February 1 might be pushing it, I think March 1 is probably going to be kind of your,
Drop dead date?
well, I won't say it's drop dead, but then it gives the Selectmen and the Finance Committee a month to kind of go through and kind of talk about it. But they want to be able to print that in the warrant, which goes to press the first week in April.
Yep.
And then the presentations at town meeting.
Yep. So we just barely got it in this time because we got started late.
Right.
But I think with this work, the main thing that's going to hold us back is going to be making sure we get all this done, right? But I think,
I would say so.
yeah. But I think we've got some smart people on this committee. We'll be able to make it happen. And if it doesn't, in the end, if we can't meet by, February 1st and March 1st, we can always go into the next year. Not that any of us want to do that, but that's up to us. That's our decision as the committee.
I don't hear any objection from this, so I guess so.
Here he comes. Hey, Mike.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you need an agenda?
Please.
Great. There you go.
Put Mike's copy at the front there.
There you go.
There's,
Great. So let's go through the agenda that we
down
have
the
now.
other end, you got a mic, if you want it,
Yeah?
If I may, just a comment on timeline, just so
Yeah.
we're all aware, because there's one competing, John, please chime in on this, on your thoughts on this. There could be one competing issue. The RFQ going out was for a designer, not only for, the preliminary work that we're talking about here for the DPW facility, but also for the fuel depot. The fuel depot is going to be on a little bit of a fast track